Hello, my name is Emily Reniger, and welcome back to another installment of Hashtag Feature Friday, a segment dedicated to showcasing different student athletes, coaches, and personnel in the Rising Star Football Academy family. Now, today we have Coach Dan Beard. Coach Beard played his collegiate ball at Shenandoah University, where he earned ESPN The Magazine Academic All District First Team selection, as well as a two-time All USA South Conference All Academic team member. He then went on to start his coaching career with stops at McDaniel College as a graduate assistant, Allegheny College, Alvernia, Shippensburg, and where he currently coaches Millersville University. He has coaching experience with different positions, including linebackers, special teams, defensive backs, and also strength and conditioning. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with him today, so thanks for being here, Dan.
No problem. Appreciate it.
So, yeah, let's just start off personally from your side of things, sports wise. So, can you tell us a little bit about your sports background and what you played growing up or what you focused on in high school?
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, I actually was a big basketball kid. My dad was a high school basketball coach for a long time in Maryland and Pennsylvania, and I actually grew more into basketball. I didn't start playing football until my eighth grade year. Basically working out in the weight room, and the coach came over and said, "Hey, have you ever played football before?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't played before." So I honestly didn't think I would ever go to college to play football or play sports. I was dead set on the military background and had a pretty good senior year, and was fortunate to just get an opportunity to go play somewhere and really enjoyed it my first year and, made the most of it.
Yeah, so it sounds like you kind of came to football a little later than most people probably
Mhm.
do, but obviously football is pretty consistent in your life now. So, when did
Yes.
you realize that you could actually take that next step and decide to maybe play in college?
I had a pretty decent senior year. I went to DeLone Catholic. I had a really good head coach, Dennis Frew. Coach Frew was there 30 plus years. He's in the Pennsylvania State Coaches Athletic Hall of Fame. He had over 200 career wins, and he was just, a really, solid person of use your talents and to go get an education. And, he knew some different people. He actually retired my senior year. And I was just fortunate, I was able to visit a couple of schools. I was, like I said, I was dead set on the military. My junior year, I'd taken the ASVAB. I was ready to go. And my mom said, "Why don't you give it a shot and see what you can do?" And I looked at, a bunch of small schools. I knew from a physical standpoint, I wasn't a big player, even a super fast or tremendous, athletic ability, but I knew I wanted to play. And, I got the opportunity. I looked at Bridgewater College, Manchester College out in Indiana, and then Shenandoah University in Virginia, which is where I ended up going. And I went out and visited the school, Manchester College in Indiana. I really liked it. The staff was good. The position coach recruiting was good, but the drive was just so long. My family wasn't going to have a chance to come see me play. I looked at Bridgewater and Shenandoah, and I had a really good relationship with the coaches at Shenandoah. The head coach, called me multiple times on the phone, and that was a big thing back then. This was before pre-Twitter, pre-texting. You weren't able to text recruits. So a phone call was a pretty cool deal. And then the defensive coordinator wrote me a letter, in the mail, and this was kind of, like I said, before the big recruiting got big of, text DMs, all that kind of stuff, social media. So that was really cool. And I went down for a visit. I watched one of their practices, and I just really liked how their staff interacted, and it was just kind of the right place, right time. And it just felt right. And I'm very fortunate, I'm at where I'm at today because I ended up going for Shenandoah. I ended up, having a position coach that came in my second year, which is how I networked and met Coach Morgan, who's now my current boss, and I had a chance to work with him. And, I think that's the thing, is the relationships along the way that have opened up. And I could not have told you that back in, 2006, 2007.
So now you're, attending Shenandoah University, and obviously half the battle of being a scholar there at Shenandoah is not only are you playing on the football field here, but you also have to get your education, right? And you actually have an undergrad and a couple of graduate
Yes.
degrees. So can you talk a little bit about those degrees and how you're
Yep.
actually utilizing them now?
Undergraduate degree was in kinesiology, exercise science. Like I said, I went in as an undeclared, which was university studies, which basically you don't know what you want to do. And I took a strength and conditioning class, and I really got into that. And the more I talked to people, you were able to make a career out of it, which really was exciting to me. Kind of got into that. And then, I graduated. I went back home, and I was working at Gold's Gym for about 2 weeks. And it was good. It was, personal training was a decent job, but I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do long term. I knew I wanted to have like more of a long term effect and, really coach and develop and see people, for a long time and get more into the athletic world. So one of my coaches from college, Brock McCullough, who at the time was defensive coordinator, he helped me, get an interview at Allegheny College. My linebackers coach, Coach Bell, who actually really helped me get connected with Coach Morgan here. They prepped me up and coached me up. And my first job was an intern at Allegheny College. I was there 2 years, and then I actually took a graduate assistant. So I kind of did the coaching world backwards. Most times you're supposed to go be a GA, then go coach, and then, get your full-time job. I kind of did the intern, then did the GA, and then I did another GA. Best thing I would say to anybody who wants to get into coaching is go do that right away so that you can get your degree paid for. The first one I completed at McDaniel College was in exercise science and physical education. And then the second one was at Shippensburg University, was in organizational leadership. And I use both of those every day. A lot of the body movement, strength and conditioning, biomechanics stuff, you use that every day in coaching. And then, organizational leadership, use that stuff every day of, connecting with athletes, methods of motivation, and even just in your daily prep work, from recruiting to your practice plan, just being organized and just communicating amongst the staff. So I use all that stuff almost every day.
And like you said, not only did you play in college, but you also did your grad assistant positions, which is basically like a full-time job as well.
Yep.
So how were you able to balance your academic schedule with, your football schedule when you were playing, but also when you were doing that full-time position with the football programs? Like, were there any resources available for you or the program to really help you keep on the right track with your academics?
Yeah, great question. I was very fortunate as an undergrad. We had mandatory study halls throughout your 4-year career there. Our head coaches did academic checks, and very similar to where I'm at now in Millersville, we do that. We're very hands on with the academics. So I was fortunate. I played for coaches that were very hands on with the academics, and I had excellent academic advisors. Dr. Brian Wigley, who's still at Shenandoah, he was the head of kinesiology department. He was phenomenal in terms of helping me, guide me with what I wanted to do. Professor Sally Hamilton, she actually, I believe, now has her doctorate now, but at the time she was just a professor. She was phenomenal. She still works at Shenandoah. She actually helped me get my strength and conditioning internship at James Madison University through connections there, because basically at Shenandoah, to complete your degree in the exercise science, you had to do some kind of internship, and she was phenomenal. And I'm very thankful for Dr. Hamilton, because it was such a great internship. I got to work with Greg Warner, who's now the head women's basketball strength coach at Virginia Tech. Callie Williams, who was phenomenal at JMU. She left and went to Oklahoma State, and then she was at South Alabama for a while. I believe now she's in the private practice for physical therapy. I worked for head coaches that, hey, they knew when I had class. And sometimes you run into situations where your GA and the coach you're working for is about football, and that's it. And, not necessarily when you go to class, but, I was fortunate. I worked for two great head coaches that understood that, and hey, when you have to go to class, to go to class, and we're understanding of that, and worked with me with my internships. So I like I said, I think that was the big thing. And then just the time management. I think just learning how to handle, you've only got so many hours a day, so you're blocking off this point for, as a student, your workouts, your classes, this, and then your practice schedule. And then once you become a coach, I have this time where I have to take care of my grad school work, my readings, papers, whatever, work is needed from a coaching standpoint, both in season, your game plan prep, whatever your responsibilities are, and who are your guys that are coming to visit, different things along those lines.
And you did mention a couple names there, but just want to dive a little deeper. Who are some of those mentors or those coaches who've really inspired you to work in football or just work in sports in general?
It started my freshman year. My position coach my freshman year was Gary Fisher. Coach Fisher played Bowling Green University, was a G at Utah, so he was big. Then he left the end of my first year and went to Kentucky State. And like I said, Coach Tyrone Bell came in, and Coach Bell was phenomenal. He's a father figure to me. He was tremendous. I had him as a position coach for a year, and then I actually moved positions to defensive line. But so, like I said, I was very fortunate as a player. I had tremendous coaches all the way up through, and they're still connected in my life. And Coach Bell helped me once I got into the business. He was always kind of the guy to lean on in terms of advice, or job opportunities, or how do you handle this situation. Brock McCauley, like I said, helped me get an interview for my first job at Allegheny, because he had played with the defensive coordinator that was there. And then once I got to my first jobs, I was fortunate. My first job at Allegheny, I worked for a tremendous head coach in Mark Matlack. I mean, he had 40 plus years of experience. He was a defensive coordinator at New Hampshire for a long time. He had been a head coach at Allegheny for 10 plus by the time I had gotten there. Really taught you how to be a coach. And he was just a really good person, and we had a lot of in-depth conversations about life. And the thing I always noticed was Coach Malik always treated people the right way. He was always very energetic, made you feel very welcomed, very disciplined in terms of, the structure of how we did things, very thorough, very detail oriented. And then while I was there, I worked with two defensive coordinators that were phenomenal. One was Mike Kasherba, now defensive coordinator at Lehigh. And then Rob Wanger, who's now the special teams coordinator in Minnesota. I just learned so much football. And I had some great co-workers too. Alex Bresner, who's now at Western New England. Eric Wolf, who later went on to Gannon and stuff. So, I mean, I was surrounded by a lot of really good people. Just the connections in the game of football and coaching that you're able to make, was just very fortunate for that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who are probably watching this are obviously fans of football. And up until a handful of years ago, Alvernia did not have a football program. But
Yep.
you were pretty integral to that class of recruits there. So athletically, like who were the types of players that you wanted to recruit starting that program up? And what about them really stood out to you from other potential recruits?
I worked for a great head coach there, Ralph Clark. I met Coach Clark through Coach Bell and then Coach Morgan, who I worked with at Ship. And, Coach Clark had a tremendous vision and what he wanted to do. A lot of meetings in terms of what we were looking for from an athlete, from positionally. I mean, we watched a lot of recruits films, in terms of the specific position skills that we looked for. I learned a ton from Coach Clark of, how to recruit, how to organize your recruiting, how to be detailed with it, know the family things. And that's the nice thing is I've worked with a lot of guys that are very thorough with that. So, I mean, part of that process was we were starting a program and we wanted to make sure that we had good players, obviously, but guys that fit what we were doing from a student standpoint, what we were looking for from a character standpoint. And part of that was just going and just hitting the road hard. I think we did a really good job of that of as a staff. It was a team effort of getting guys there. We all just kind of rolled up our sleeves and, really hit the ground running. You're selling a dream and a vision. And to be able to get the guys that we did, it was a total team effort. I remember we went down to Florida. Sean Dugan, who's now in Minnesota, we actually just saw him at the coaches convention there. Me and him, we basically had like a 5 to 8 day tour of Florida, and neither of us had ever recruited Florida before. So we were just two young guys trying to find our way around. And I know Coach Clark came down as well, and he had recruited Florida before, so he put us in the right direction. But I just think the relationships that we were all in it together, the team effort. And I think that's one thing about coaching and recruiting. And I tell recruits this all the time is you got to look at the staff. Is that a staff gels together, gets well along together? And I felt we had that. You have the primary recruiting coach that, obviously interacts with the student on the road and schools, the phone calls. But once that recruit comes to campus, it's a total team effort of position coach, the coordinator, the head coach, and I think staffs that work well together, that's what makes things successful is a team effort. It's not just one guy, or it's got to be the full team effort. And then also the players. We were fortunate that players that we had already had on our roster there that Coach Clark had recruited his first 6 months there were tremendous at getting those guys there and spending time with them too as young guys. And we were very fortunate to be able to be successful there.
Now, you've been with Milledgeville since 2018. So,
Mhm.
how have you seen this program grow and improve over the past few years, especially with the hiring of JC Morgan that same year?
I've known Coach Morgan for a long time. Like I said, I met him through Coach Bell right out of college, and had a chance to work at Shippensburg as a graduate assistant when he was offensive coordinator there. So I just think his vision and plan, what we're looking for, in a student athlete, what we're looking for from a character standpoint, from an academic standpoint, and from a playing standpoint, what intangibles we're looking for, what we're looking for position specific. And then I think the most important thing is just building long-lasting relationships. That's a big goal of our program, and that starts in the recruiting process, making sure at the end of the day we're always doing what's best for the kid and giving them honest feedback so that they can make the best decision for themselves, and they have all the information to make an accurate and good decision. The one thing we tried to do is just do a great job in our backyard and in recruiting. And again, it's a team effort. And if you look at our staff, we've been together for a good chunk of time now. Coach Morgan's vision, he's got a tremendous vision. He knows how to win. He's a great leader. He builds tremendous relationships with the players, and us as assistants, we kind of feed off of that.
And one of our Rising Stars Football Academy coaches, Devon Altland, was recently hired this past summer as a wide receivers coach. So, can you tell us a little about working with Devon and what he really brings to the coaching staff?
Absolutely. So the funny thing is, Devin and I go to the same high school. We're both the Lone Catholic Squires. We're both the Lone alumni. I remember Devin as a basketball player in high school. He played for Jim Dooley, and Coach Dooley was a phenomenal person, a phenomenal man. He had won every school he had been at. I was fortunate to have him, for sociology and psychology classes, and had him for a lot of classes. He was just a great teacher and a great person. The thing I know is that Coach Dooley always spoke very highly of Devin, and that was before Devin even got into coaching. So having had a chance to observe Devin as an athlete, and again, having the same high school connection, he's a tremendous motivator. He does a great job in recruiting, great job with the players in terms of connecting with them and coaching them. And he's going to be a rock star in this profession, in my opinion. He's got all the tools, all the intangibles. We're fortunate to have him on staff here. I love working with him, and can't say enough good things about Devin.
And you mentioned Rising Stars Football Academy combines and camps that we host. So, what are your experience with our events here? Have you been able to recruit some of the athletes that participated in our events before, and just overall experience and what you really like about what we put out in the field there?
I was at the Red Line Combine that you guys had. We had staff members at the other one. Coach Moore was at the Cumberland Valley one that you guys had, and all throughout the state. there was a lot of talented kids that we've even had come visit recently that are higher on our boards and higher on our radar. And I think the nice thing is you get a chance to see them in person, see them move, see them do the different drills, see how they interact with their teammates. And sometimes those are some things that you don't necessarily get on the film of how they're interacting with the drills and, how they move. So, that was very beneficial. The other thing too is just really get a chance to get a set of eyes of them outside of the film room. A lot of times you'll watch so many guys on film, but it's getting to see them outside of that film doing some position specific drills, doing some movements. And Ron's Rising Stars camp, he had it this past year at Millersville, but I can remember when it was at Ship, when I was a GA, the cool thing was you got a chance to work with kids that you got to see every year get better. And then by the time they were juniors and seniors, you have a chance to be able to recruit them and kind of see them develop over time. So I think that's the cool thing, is the development aspect of the coaching, is that the kids are getting the tools that they need to be successful, to be able to develop over a long period of time. And they're really getting taught the game. And I think one thing you see a lot of times with camps and combines is certain camps have less focus on the teaching aspect. And that's the thing I love about what you guys do with Ron's camps, is that the kids are taught the game of football the right way and taught the techniques and fundamentals. And at the end of the day, that's what the game of football comes back to.
Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Like, we have our combines in our camps, and a lot of our older guys in high school getting ready to take that next step at the collegiate level. They're there too, but we also have a younger division for our camps and combines. So, what would you say is the most important thing that our younger student athletes, say in eighth or ninth grade, what should they really be focusing on or thinking about right now to progress their game?
I think the number one thing is, first and foremost, and this may sound a little out of the box, but enjoy it. Enjoy the game of football. Enjoy the activities. You only get one opportunity to kind of go through this and to be young and to be in high school. So I think the first thing is enjoy it. Don't stress about it. Don't try to plan everything. Let everything to kind of take its course from the recruiting standpoint. The second thing is just really make sure you take care of things in the classroom. That's the first thing in recruiting that we look for. I mean, before you even talk to a student athlete, is we're going to look at a transcript and we're going to see, hey, what are you doing, in your classes? What's your overall GPA? And then the other thing on the transcript too is, hey, how many unexcused absences do you have? How many tardies? What's your attendance thing? I mean, those are little things that we look for, what kind of person you are. So I think that's the first thing, is make sure you take care of things in the classroom, because the better student you are, the more opportunities you're going to have. If you're not as good a student, it's going to limit some of the schools that you can look at. But if you're a really good student, you have a wide variety of schools you can look at. So I think those are the big things are, one, enjoy it. Don't wish time away too fast, and have fun with playing the sport, and enjoy the experiences and the relationships you make. But the second thing would be make sure you're taking care of things ahead in the classroom. I think the other thing, don't be afraid to communicate and talk with coaches. We're people too. There's nothing wrong with reaching out and sending your film, sending your contact information. Don't hesitate to follow up as well, and really build that relationship. Get to visit as many places as you can, get to some game visits, get to visit campuses in the spring, and just do the campus tours, the admissions tours, or if coaches are having tours, do that, so you can see, hey, what are you looking for, what's a good fit for you. Build a good relationship with your high school coach and the coaches, the assistant coaches on staff, because a lot of times as recruiters, those are going to be the first contacts that we make in terms of how is this guy, as a person, what's his character. And a lot of times when we go into schools and recruit, we're going to ask everybody. We'll ask the person at the front desk, the secretary, we'll ask Jan in the hallway, one of the teachers. And that's the thing, is when you get that constant feedback of like, oh, this guy's a great person, or this is a great person, this is a great individual, great athlete, cares about others. Those are things that we really look for in the recruiting process of, hey, is this a good person that you want in your program, on top of being a good player.
Now, this summer from July 3rd through the 7th, we're actually hosting our Rising Stars Football Academy camp at Millersville University again. So, all information will be found on our website there. But can you speak a little about your role during that camp and what you're really looking forward to seeing from not only our coaches, but also all the participants?
In the past, obviously I've worked in the past, when I was at Ship as a GA, and then I was able to, this past summer, my wife just had a baby, so I missed that camp this past summer. But the things that I've really seen are the development of the players. The nice thing, I know we have some of our own players that do work the camp as well, so they get a chance to work with a college athlete and be able to kind of get coached up from them from that standpoint. So I think just they're getting a lot of work out of the camp too. The multiple practice sessions, the drills, the fundamentals. I think the fundamentals are key. Do a great job of instilling those, teaching technique. Students from all different positions can take back with them to their schools and really apply. So I think we have tremendous facilities that they'll get a chance to work, which is cool. I can remember being a kid going to camps, and you've only been at your high school field, but to get a chance to work on different facilities and see college weight room, see a college stadium, those are pretty cool. And we're very fortunate at Millersville through our administration to have those kind of things. And I think that's a nice thing for students as well. The overnight experience of staying in college dorms, what that's like, seeing those as well. So just the overall experience, I think, is what students will really look forward to.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. And, I think a lot of our viewers are going to take a lot of really valuable information, especially all the stuff that you mentioned about the recruiting process and really finding a college that's going to work best for them. So just want to thank you again and, hope you have a great rest of your day here.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And like I said, appreciate your guys' time. And we're very fortunate and enjoy this recruiting process. Enjoy, everything, work hard at it every day. Everything takes care of itself. We're very thankful and appreciative of the opportunity to talk a little bit about our program here at Millersville and then also just our individual experiences as coaches. So
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
see it.